After our overnight train journey and a good breakfast, we just had time for a shower and a change of clothes before taking our coach to the old Mughal capital for Fatehpur Sikri. This vast complex was built by the Emperor Akbar between 1571 and 1585. Our guide tells us that the palace was only used as the capital for 15 years and then abandoned. The reason for this is not clear, but may have been due to the lack of fresh water. Many of the treasures were plundered, and the present state of restoration is mainly due to the Viceroy, Lord Curzon, between 1899 and 1905. The whole area consists of a series of terraces and both public and private buildings, all built of the distinctive red sandstone, which was quarried from the ridge on which the complex stands. Our next stop was the grand open mosque of Jami Masjid, which towers over the city of Fatehpur Sikri. Flanked by arched cloisters, it has monumental gateways to the east and south. The spiritual centre of the mosque is the tomb of Sheikh Salim Krititi, who predicted the end of childlessness for the Mughal Akbar in 1568, and still attracts many childless women in hope of a miracle. Before leaving, we make our way outside to the terrace which overlooks the city. After lunch, Abby took us to a small workshop which carries on the ancient craft of inlaying marble with intricate patterns made with slivers of semi-precious stones. The designs, many of which go back to the 17th century, are sketched onto the marble. The pattern is scraped out, and then the tiny pieces of stone are individually shaped and glued into place using a special glue which is secret to the family. The final results are stunning. We also get a chance to try our hand at the intricate work with varying degrees of success. The designs are used in an array of platters, tables and decorative features which can be used anywhere. Dawn on Sunday, and we are the first visitors through the gates to one of the highlights of our trip, the iconic Taj Mahal. We grab a few pictures whilst waiting for the sunrise and our official photograph. Built by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan in memory of his favourite wife, who died in 1631, this building lives up to its reputation in every way. Exquisite craftsmanship, perfect proportions and a sublime setting all go to create an earthly paradise, in spite of the scaffolding on some parts of the building. About 20,000 workers spent 12 years and millions of rupees to complete the building in 1643. As the sun rises, the colour of the building gradually changes and more visitors arrive, and we appreciate our chance to get in early when it's less crowded. But now we are back on the bus and on the way to our next destination, the Agra Fort. Another impressive complex built by the Emperor Akbar, which encompasses an enormous number of buildings and barracks, as well as dungeons and accommodation for a large harem. Our guide gives us an overview before we roam over the site, which is within view of the Taj Mahal. Throughout history, India's rulers have lived through civil strife and war, as these fine buildings bear witness. Today there are still problems, and news is filtering through that there is civil unrest in the north on the way to Shimla, where we should be going after Delhi, and that we may have to revise our itinerary to avoid the trouble spots. For the moment though, we are enjoying our sightseeing and hoping for the best. We now return to our bus for the afternoon ride to New Delhi. Unfortunately, we are not travelling for long before we come to a halt, as the freeway is blocked by protesters. After waiting a while, Abby gets our driver to retrace our journey back to a freeway service area where we have some food and wait for news. After an hour or so, the news comes in that the road is now open and we resume our journey on to Delhi. Our destination was the luxurious Royal Plaza Hotel, which we finally reached at 7:30 in the evening. Monday morning, and we leave at 9:30 for a city tour. Our first stop is the Qutb Minar complex, which has India's highest single tower and marks the site of the first Muslim kingdom in northern India, which was established in 1193. The whole area is a patchwork of structural remains, illustrating numerous building styles and decoration introduced by successive rulers. As with so many of the sites we have visited, the scale of the buildings and the skill of the ancient craftsmen is quite overwhelming. Our local guide gives us time to roam around and take in the huge site before we move on to our next destination. Humayun's tomb is set in a large Mughal garden and was the inspiration of several later monuments, including the Taj Mahal. There are a number of tombs and mosques in the complex, including the tomb of a favourite barber. Our guide tells us that the main tomb was commissioned by Humayun's senior widow and includes his wives as well as his son. A steep flight of steps takes us up to the central tomb chamber, which is set overlooking the whole site. Before lunch, we just have time for a whistle-stop tour of central Delhi, passing the massive India Gate, which was built to commemorate the Indian and British soldiers who died in World War I. The Victory Square is a large piazza near the Indian President's residence, the Parliament House and numerous public buildings, many of which were the creation of the renowned British architect Sir Edward Lutyens. After lunch we take the metro to Old Delhi and begin to explore the maze of back streets and hidden parts of the old city. We pass through the Chandi Chowk Bazaar with all the noise and colour and smells of India, as well as some amusing signs. We eventually find ourselves at the Jami Masjid Mosque, which is the largest in India. Taking 14 years to complete, it can hold up to 25,000 worshippers and a few excitable tourists. Because of civil unrest in Haryana province, all trains have been cancelled and the main road is closed. This prevents us keeping to our itinerary. After much animated discussion and messages to and from Explore HQ, they have decided that we will have to continue by road for the next 2 days and bypass the trouble spots. We are all unhappy with the situation, but can see there is little option but to go along with the plan. Also, it means that if we make good time on the second day, we may be able to complete the last section of the toy train to Shimla, which we are all looking forward to. As a consequence of the changes, we find ourselves travelling northeast on new roads and check-in points as we pass through to the state of Uttaranchal on our way to Dehradun and our overnight stay in the Pacific Hotel. 3:45 p.m. on Wednesday, after a long and pleasant drive through some beautiful countryside and very windy roads, we finally find ourselves at the toy train station. We learn that our train has been delayed by an hour, so we have time for fooling around and photos. The highlight being Muriel's impression of the food sellers on the train.
Broccoli soup, tomato soup. Roger Samandi Mali.
Finally our train comes in and we board for the short hop up through the hills to Shimla. A leisurely 10 a.m. start today, with Abby taking us for a guided walk from our hotel along the mall that winds for 4 miles through the old town of Shimla. The spectacular location with its excellent climate has attracted countless visitors since it was discovered by Captain Charles Kennedy in the early 19th century. In 1864 it became the summer headquarters of the British government in India. Consequently, there are numerous colonial buildings along the way. After lunch we have time for some last minute shopping and a visit to the Monkey Temple. Early afternoon on Friday and we have arrived in Ambala after a long run back down through the hills from Shimla by minibus. This is our last leg-by train which will take us down to Amritsar and our final hotel. The train is a little late, so we soak up the atmosphere of a typical Indian railway station until we leave. We finally get away at 3:50 and after 1 or 2 slow sections arrive at our hotel by 9 p.m. Saturday, the last full day of our holiday. Where has it all gone? We've taken a fleet of auto rickshaws and are now making our way to the Golden Temple. On our way we stop at the infamous Jallianwala Bar, which is the site where over 300 unarmed civil liberties demonstrators were gunned down by British troops in 1919. This horrific event was one of the primary triggers that finally led to Indian independence.
chapati, rice, sugarcane, cotton and maize.
Our guide gives us a little local background before we see the well that many people jumped into trying to avoid the British troops' gunfire.
120 dead bodies was recovered from this well.
The Golden Temple is the spiritual centre of the Sikh religion, and we have all to don suitable head covering before we're allowed into the main complex. We also have to wash our feet. The place is teeming with visitors and pilgrims from all over the world. Built between 1589 and 1601, the main temple is a mixture of Islamic and Hindu architecture. This queue of pilgrims to the Hari Mandir, or Temple of God, are waiting for a glimpse of the Holy Book, which is carried out every day at daybreak and opened for the message of the day. A central feature of the complex is the massive kitchen, where up to 100,000 meals can be served every single day. The scale is immense. The meal is free to all visitors and consists of lentil curry, bread and tea. We get a chance to pitch in and have a stir. The vast hall can seat up to 3,000 people at a time, and the cooking goes on for 24 hours a day. We all decided not to partake, although Angela did come back in the evening for a sample and survived. We have a chance for a last look round and some photos before going back to the bus. Six miles out of Amritsar is the Wagh border with Pakistan, where each evening there is a ritual closing of the border. We are shepherded to the VIP stand to watch the proceedings. Whilst the border guards are getting ready, visitors are invited to join in the dancing and create a party mood. The MC whips the audience into a patriotic fever, and the troops, who obviously trained at the Ministry of Silly Walks, strut off to begin proceedings. There is much posturing and saluting before both flags are slowly lowered. Finally, everyone marches back, ready to do it all over again tomorrow. Back at the hotel, we all meet up for a final group dinner. What a fantastic journey we have had. There have been so many sights, sounds, smells and adventures, but above all we have bonded as a group and enjoyed so many memorable adventures together. This has all been made possible by our group leader Abby, who has overcome some real logistical transport problems for us, and John has been given the task of thanking him on our behalf.
I'll just say, I think you're pretty cool. So thanks very much. I don't know if anybody else wants to do it.
Julia, what could have said?